The myth says Caesar died and Rome was saved. That's the cover story. Brutus killed a man. He didn't kill the machine. And then the machine didn't stop. It passed to Octavian, 19 years old, already moving with a plan. He kept everything visible the same. The Senate still met. Consuls were still elected. The fasces still stood on the rostrum. All the forms were there. But the function shifted. Virgil wrote. The coins carried one face. The legions answered to one name. He never called himself emperor. He didn't need to. He didn't restore the republic. They preserved it on the surface. Underneath, it was something else entirely. By the end of this, the pattern becomes clear. The same blueprint, reused, refined, never credited. Welcome back to Hidden Forces in History. I'm your host, Jeremy Ryan Slate, CEO of Command Your Brand. Check us out at commandyourbrand.com. So let's start where most people skip. Not the Senate, not the battlefield. Start with a will. Julius Caesar was murdered on March 15th, 44 BC. 23 senators, 23 knives. One body left on the floor of the theater of Pompey. The men who did it expected something specific: gratitude, recognition. Instead, they got silence, then panic, then riots. They had removed the most powerful figure in Rome and realized almost immediately they had nothing to replace him with. Brutus tried to explain it. The crowd didn't follow. Cassius issued statements. No one listened. Within weeks, they were gone. Driven out of the city they thought they had just freed. And into the opening, someone stepped in. Gaius Octavius, 18 years old in Macedonia, studying military tactics. No army, no treasury, no real political base. But he had one thing: a name. Caesar's will was read in the forum, publicly. Gaius Octavius had been adopted, which meant he became Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus. He dropped the last part almost immediately. From that point on, he was Caesar, the same name the city had already been mourning. The co-conspirators thought they had ended something. They transferred it, because they misunderstood where the power actually sits. It doesn't sit with individuals. It sits with symbols. And Caesar's name was the strongest symbol in Rome. Now it belonged to Octavian. That was enough to begin. What followed usually gets labeled as a civil war, and then people move past it. But if you slow down, it doesn't look like chaos. It looks like structure, deliberate. Rome wasn't just fighting, it was being cleared. In 43 BC, Octavian forms the second triumvirate with Mark Antony and Lepidus. Publicly, it's presented as a restoration of order. Privately, it starts with a list. The proscriptions. Names posted across the city. If your name was on it, you could be killed legally, and your killer would be paid. Your property taken by the state. Redistributed. 300 senators. 2,000 equestrians. Removed. This wasn't random. It was selective. Anyone who could organize resistance disappeared. Anyone who could fund opposition was removed. Anyone that could argue for the old system is gone. The system wasn't collapsing. It was being stripped, piece by piece. Cicero ended up on that list. Marcus Tullius Cicero, the most prominent voice still defending the Republic. He tried to leave. He didn't make it. They killed him for it. They cut off his head and his hands, placed them on the rostra, the same platform he had spoken about liberty from. That placement wasn't symbolic by accident. It was deliberate. A message placed exactly where it would land. Octavian approved it. At 21. By that point, the machine had been cleared. What came next wasn't rebuilding. It was reconfiguration. Every consolidation of power needs an enemy, not just a rival, something larger, something that makes alignment feel necessary. After the triumvirate fractures, Octavian's operation shifts focus. Mark Antony moves east. He commands massive forces and aligns himself, politically and personally, with Cleopatra. That's the raw material. Octavian's team turns it to narrative. Antony is no longer Roman. He's been changed, pulled into something foreign. He's abandoned Roman customs, Roman loyalty, and Roman identity. That's the framing. And then comes the key move. Octavian declares war, not on Antony, on Cleopatra. That distinction matters. If it's Antony, it's civil war, Roman against Roman. But if it's Cleopatra, it becomes something else. Defense, civilization. The legions don't march for faction. They march for Rome. The Senate grants Octavian extraordinary powers, not under pressure, because the story makes it feel justified. At Actium in 31 BC, Octavian wins. Antony and Cleopatra retreat. Within a year, both are dead, and Octavian returns to Rome, not as a participant, as the one who resolved it. The narrative was already in place before the outcome arrived. January 13th, 27 BC, the Senate chamber. Octavian makes an announcement. The crisis is over. The Republic is restored. He's returning power to the Senate, stepping back. At least, that's how it's presented. The reaction is immediate. Shock. Then something else. Relief. They ask him to stay. Not permanently, just long enough to stabilize things. And here's where it becomes precise. He agrees, but only to manage certain provinces. Temporarily. Syria, Gaul, Spain, Egypt, which if you look closely, aren't random. They contain the legions, the grain supply, the wealth. He returns what doesn't matter, keeps what does. And he does it within the system. The Senate votes him new titles. Augustus, the additional powers, tribunician authority, proconsular command, religious leadership, each piece added separately, each one justified, until everything that actually controls the system sits with one person. But nothing looks broken, because it's all moved through the existing structure. No crown, no declaration, just accumulation and recognition. Holding power is one thing. Maintaining it is different. Because eventually, force isn't enough. People have to accept the new system, or at least stop questioning it. 3 channels: literature, history, and currency. Virgil writes under patronage, not through direct orders, through alignment. Themes are understood. The Aeneid builds lineage. It connects Augustus to divine origin, not politically, but structurally. Livy reconstructs Roman history, frames decline, then positions the present as a correction. Same direction, different angle. And then the coins, because most people don't read, but everyone uses money for their everyday purchases. After Actium, the imagery shifts, consistently. Augustus on the front of coins, symbols on the back. Victory, stability, provision, peace. None of it is random. It's all coordinated, and it's constant. Coins move across regions, across populations. The message, it travels with them, not occasionally, continuously. And that's the difference. It's not communication, it's saturation and propaganda. The opposition doesn't disappear. That's not how this actually works. Most of them adapt to the new system because the system offers a choice: resist and be removed, or align and remain. Many choose to stay, and over time, something starts to shift. They stop performing agreement, and they start believing it. Because the system still looks the same chamber, the same roles, the same procedures, only the outcomes change. And that change, well, it isn't visible. So the belief stays intact, and that is the mechanism. The system doesn't need new supporters. It repurposes the old ones for its purposes. And that carries something important: credibility. The people who defended the Republic now defend what's replaced it. And they don't see the contradiction. They see continuity. The Senate still exists. It still meets. It still debates. And it still votes. But if you look at what it controls, it's quite limited. Appointments, contracts, minor functions. Everything else, military, resources, and direction, well, that sits elsewhere, with Augustus. But he doesn't remove the Senate. He participates in it. He sits among them, speaks with them. He maintains the structure and the look, because the structure is doing something for him. It's legitimizing his new system. If the Senate collapses, well, the illusion breaks. If it continues, the system appears intact. So he maintains it carefully, consistently, for decades. Not because it holds power, because it reflects it upon him. Eventually, the system faces a limit: succession. Augustus has no direct heir, and he can't name one openly, because that would break the system, and others would oppose this new structure. So he uses adoption, gradually positioning different candidates over time. Some die, some fail. Eventually, Tiberius, his stepson, is placed into the role. He's given authority, integrated into this new system. So when the transition happens, it looks procedural and natural. The Senate votes, the system processes, and power transfers to the new guy. Not suddenly, but as if it was always going to happen, exactly like that. Because it was designed exactly that way. For 41 years, Augustus holds power, but he avoids one thing: the name. He never formally calls himself emperor or a king. He uses titles for that purpose, many of them, but not that one of king or emperor, because naming something makes it visible, and visible things can be challenged. Unnamed power doesn't get debated or canceled. It just operates. So he keeps it undefined, and as long as it stays undefined, it stays unopposed. When Augustus dies, the system continues for almost 500 years. The Senate votes, declares him divine, then continues the exact same process he created. Succession follows. Each one is technically elected, each one operating inside the same structure Augustus created. The language doesn't change. Restoration, virtue, continuity, and it's repeated over and over again. The system doesn't just persist, it defines how power is discussed and continued. And once that happens, it becomes self-sustaining, like a self-licking ice cream cone. The Republic didn't end with a single battle. It shifted, gradually over time, structurally, through language, through propaganda, and through symbols. Even continuity. Everything stayed in place exactly as Augustus created it, except control, and that's the pattern. Successful transitions don't announce themselves. They resemble restoration of what happened before. They keep the forms, but they change the functions. The system remains visible, but the power, it moves underneath. And once that happens, the shift is already complete. Same playbook, different century. This has been Hidden Forces in History. I'm Jeremy Ryan Slate. Be sure to like this video, leave us a comment, and smash that subscribe button if you want more Hidden Forces in History.